Hello and welcome to the big interview. Our guest today is the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Your Excellency, hello and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It's a great honor to have you on our set. Yesterday, you attended the May 9th parade. What are your impressions? Hello and thank you. So, we are here in Russia to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And as you said, yesterday, we attended the ceremony. Hello and welcome to the big interview. Our guest today is the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Your Excellency, hello and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It's a great honor to have you on our set. Yesterday, you attended the May 9th parade. What are your impressions? Hello and thank you. So, we are here in Russia to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And as you said, yesterday, we attended the ceremony, a parade, and a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of the unknown soldier. I think it's very symbolic. We learned a lot of things during this stay. It wasn't just a party, but it's a celebration of the victory of a new world. So it has a lot of meaning for us. But the quality of the parade, what do you think? Yes, it's like I said, it was perfect, and it taught us a lot of things. And when we parade the machines that won the war, that is to say, the T-34s up to modern machines, it shows us the technological evolution of the Russian army, and it also inspires us to get to work to be able to develop in the same direction. Were there certain things that surprised you? For example, we are always surprised when we see technological progress, and recently I think there is a new weapon that has appeared in the rich military arsenal that we have been able to see, and I think that is very significant.
Desde los verdes pastos de Galicia, con las mejores.
What is the significance of your presence as an African head of state? We know very well that many Africans contributed to the Allied victory in the Second World War. Of course, as I said, Africans and Soviet soldiers contributed greatly to liberating the world from Nazism, and if the world was not liberated from Nazism, we don't know what would have become of it. As I followed events, I saw that Russia alone lost 1 million soldiers fighting on European soil. And Africa also gave our ancestors a lot of fighting in the European theater, mainly in France, Belgium, and Italy, to liberate the world from Nazism. So it's a common history that we share. How did the meeting with the Russian president go? For now, we've had brief meetings, and in a while we're going to have a long meeting, and it's going very well. And really it's very courteous, it's friendly, it's fraternal, and that's all we ask for in terms of new cooperation in this world. But how would you describe the current state of bilateral relations? Relations are going very well, and I can say that for 2 years now, relations have started very well, and we are in the process of deepening not just in the defense and security aspects, but also in the education aspects, the trade aspects and stuff. So we have staggered the different aspects so that we can exchange a lot, share a lot of experience, because we have a lot to learn about the education aspect of Russia, especially in science. Particularly in science, but in which field in particular? Yes, there are many fields in science, whether mathematics, physics, chemistry. These are fields that interest us a lot, both in the development of our military industry, and also in the commercial development of our country and the economic development of our country. So these are aspects that we will seek to deepen in order to be able to better structure ourselves. Do you think there is a demand in Burkina for Russian education? Of course, there are many Burkinabe students already here in Russia in universities. I met some this very morning, and I even asked that we increase the number of students here, whether through Russian scholarships or Burkina Faso, which will therefore pay scholarships for these students to come. But the objective for us is to establish similar universities in Burkina Faso. And since the Russian house is already there, that will allow us to move very quickly. By the way, you just mentioned today that you visited the Russian university. How did this visit go? It went very well. I had fruitful discussions with the Russian Minister of Education, with the students, and especially the AES students, who study at this university, and we had very good discussions and we spoke a lot in a scientific manner. Let's talk a little bit about the economy. The volume of trade has increased 10 times in 1 year, but on the other hand, these figures are not up to the political dialogue. How do you explain this paradox, and, above all, how can we boost these ties in the area of trade?
I'm 35 and I want to retire by 50 living here in Europe. What should I
As I said, this is a new relationship that is beginning. You know that with Russia, it's starting again since the years after Sankara's death. Unfortunately, relations with Russia have faded a lot, and now we're rekindling those relations. The embassy has been established, and trade relations are also at the heart of the exchanges. When I take a certain number of products, for example, Burkinabe products that transited through certain European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, these products are sold directly through Burkinabe and Russian operators. I'm talking particularly about mangoes, and mangoes transients through European countries to be sold in Russia. Today, it happens directly. There's cotton, there's something that will follow, there are many other products, sesame and many other agricultural products that we can trade directly with Russia. So it's just beginning, it's going to increase. In fact, economic forecasts indicate a growth of 5.6% in 2025. So what are the key sectors that support this growth? It must be said that until today in Burkina Faso, this is where the primary export product is. But we have launched the agricultural engine for self-sufficiency first, and also for foreign trade and exports. And if you've been following closely since last year, we launched the agricultural offensive with an initiative that supports the offensive. The objective is to be able to significantly increase our agricultural production to be self-sufficient, but there are also cash crops that must be sold abroad, and all of this must be able to support this growth, and we hope to be well above these figures. But how are these reforms actually going? There are many things. These are difficult reforms, we must recognize that, because there is a system that has been established, but it's not impossible. Already when you look at our cereal production, we had very good growth in 2024. In 2025, we hope to do even better, and these are quite courageous reforms. When you take, for example, I'm following in agriculture, we have, for example, decided through the offensive initiative to plow for free the farms of our farmers. So last year we did it, and again this year, God willing, when we return, and we have acquired a good number of tractors that we will make available to the mechanized units in the different departments to increase the areas under clearing. We are maximizing a lot in water management through a structure that we created far down to control water and be able to produce at least 2 or 3 times a year. because if we depended solely on rain, it would be difficult. So there is this sector, the mining sector as well, which we will continue to boost so that the country itself can exploit its own resources. So we have started to acquire mines. There are many permits that are there, which we are developing. Our engineers have been able to develop the necessary machines so that we can exploit our own resources. So if we put a profit in these two sectors and supplement it with industrialization, that is to say the transformation of our products on site, which will prevent us from exporting raw materials, it will lead us to generate very good growth in any case. So these are the reforms that are underway: agriculture, industry and so on and so forth, and many sectors. Do you think that Russia can provide support for the implementation of these reforms? Of course, a lot of support and just technical and professional training is already a very good thing. If we pay for industries, we need people who will maintain them and make them work. And Russia is helping us in this area, which is why I say that we have very good cooperation with the Ministry of Education. They will allow us to train technicians, engineers who must be able to maintain everything we do, but also create our own industrial units. So that is very important for us, and in trade too. As I said right away, with Russia, things are going very well and there is no reason why we cannot take all of this further. Let's talk a little bit about security. What is the security situation currently in your country and elsewhere in the region? Yes, in the region, as you know, the situation is secure. In any case, we are trying to evolve on the battlefields. That's the first thing, because there are several factors that come into play on the battlefields. If we take 2023, today we have been able to recover many areas that we have been able to pacify. However, the enemy is also strengthening and has many foreign fighters who are joining the ranks of terrorists. Can you specify or talk about what? Yes, the terrorists are reinforced by many foreign fighters who come from elsewhere, who are not Sahelians. In fact, when I take the case of Burkina Faso, there are many criminals who are in Burkina Faso but who are not Burkinabés. There are also trainers who come from many countries to teach them many techniques. But what is their interest? But it's not terrorism, in fact, it's imperialism. The objective for them is to maintain a permanent war so that we cannot develop and continue to plunder our resources. And so they have every interest in bringing specialists in mines to lay various types of mines, explosive specialists. Today, terrorists use drones to fight and everything. So these are professionals from certain countries who come to learn all that. All this is to continue to keep us in a situation of insecurity, but we take the measure of the thing, we adapt each time to their mode of action, and we will continue the fight until we recover the entire Sahel. Are there specific countries that finance these fighters? All the imperialist countries finance these fighters. That is it. There are many of them. We can't name them individually. There are some who are even hidden that we can't imagine, but there are many. There are many. There are those who are not hidden, who declare it openly. I'm talking about the recent scandal with the support of terrorism in Mali. What is your view on what actually happened in Mali? Yes, it's unfortunate. They have openly declared that they support the terrorists. We have also been able to notice, indeed, with a certain number of technologies that the terrorists may have had, that it comes from them. It's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate, but the fact remains that we don't feel sorry for ourselves. And we have taken the measure of the thing, we are going to adapt them, we are going to fight them, and they will not be able to win. That's the most important thing for us. How is humanitarian cooperation between Burkina Faso and Russia continuing? It's continuing very well, and I think there are a lot of exchanges on many aspects. When I take the area of health, because we still have displaced people there, and when we say a displaced persons camp, it means that there are often complicated health situations, and I think that the health services cooperate well to be able to support the humanitarian action services to be able to move forward. And you followed in 2023, I think that Russia made a donation of wheat to Burkina Faso. It was only intended for displaced people, but we made a promise to President Putin that we no longer wish to be supplied with wheat, because we are going to produce the wheat. And I'll keep this promise because we have started to produce our wheat in quantity to satisfy local demand. So that means that cooperation on this aspect leads us ourselves to develop to boost many things in order to be able to fill the gaps. Faced with current geopolitical tensions, particularly the tariff war between the United States and China, how is Burkina Faso adapting its economic and diplomatic strategy? So this world is constantly changing. The things we see are often crazy and we have to stay alert and be able to adapt at any time. And that is very important, because we follow the news and there is an economic battle everywhere. But for us, we trade with China without problem. We buy a lot of things from China and the Chinese also buy a lot of things from us. There are Chinese companies that are setting up here despite the fact that people have tried to denigrate Burkina Faso. It's the same with Russia currently. So all the countries that are fighting today for their economic independence, we try to collaborate better with these countries, because in the face of oppression of imperialism, it is necessary that those who are oppressed unite to face this hegemony. So as for us, we adapt to this whole situation. Mr. President, what is your view on the recent deterioration of relations with Algeria? So you have followed the events and I think everyone understands how it works. We regret the incident that occurred at the Algerian border with the drone they shot down. It must be said clearly, it's not friendly. It's not friendly because no aircraft can be shot down like that. When everyone knows the protocol, there's no point in hiding. If an aircraft crosses your border, even if it enters your country, we identify it. Radars can identify it. And we know which country it belongs to. And there are diplomatic relations for that. We contact the embassy and there are defense attachés. There are many mechanisms. We contact them and they can confirm if it's their aircraft or not. If it's on the territory by our, maybe it needs help or it's lost orientation and all that. That an aircraft can be in the air, it can have problems with the weather, it is forced to hide behind the clouds. It happens very often in our countries. So an aircraft comes in, we ask them, they say no, there's a lot of cloud cover, but there's in any case a meteorological phenomenon that brings it over. It may have a technical problem, it may ask for help so that we guide it to land. So there are so many factors that can cause an aircraft to end up in an airspace. We don't systematically shoot down an aircraft. This happened to us. We've often seen an American aircraft that entered our territory, doing reconnaissance and everything. We didn't shoot down the aircraft. We only had to contact the American embassy, who took a few minutes, confirmed that it was their aircraft, and cleared the area. So we don't systematically shoot down an aircraft. So it's a deliberate, unfriendly act to shoot down the aircraft, and it's regrettable. But if I understand correctly, you're not closing the door to dialogue anyway. No leaders must understand that we have no choice but to unite in the face of this situation of so-called terrorism. Because it's a rather complex phenomenon. I'm telling you that Burkina Faso was sitting back in 2012, watching Mali. We were what they called, the regimes that were in place were friends with these people.
Is it possible to learn any language by only watching movies? Let's be honest.
Some even lived. Because it's a rather complex phenomenon. I'm telling you that Burkina Faso was sitting back in 2012, watching Mali. We were what they called, the regimes that were in place were friends with these people. Some even lived in Ouagadougou. Yesterday he lived in Ouagadougou. That's the reality. But what's happening today? They've turned against us. They're not free people. They are manipulated by the imperialists, and the orders they give them are given to their criminals on the ground, and they carry them out. So everyone must understand that we must unite to confront this. There is no room for negotiation with these people. Let's talk about this unit, rather this integration which is currently taking place within the AES. Where are we currently? It's going well, it's evolving. We are therefore in the Confederation, and as I said, there are a lot of things to put in place there and we must not try to go so fast and not do well. So we are going in a progressive manner. There are a lot of structures to put in place. There are a lot of aspects to upgrade in the three countries, because you are not unaware that from the economic point of view, we are not at the same level. From the military point of view, there are a lot of aspects we must try to balance, and therefore it requires the establishment of a lot of structures, a lot of meetings, and free movement requires a certain number of parameters to be put together. You must have seen that we've done a lot of work to come up with a single security document for travel and everything. So it's evolving and it's going very well. I had a question about the economic aspect. Is the creation of the currency specific to the AES still on the agenda? Yes, it's on the agenda, of course. And so the process continues. There are a lot of things, like I would say a lot of notes to sort out before we get there. But that's necessarily the agenda. We can, if we talk about sovereignty, we obviously need that sovereignty, that is imperative. Can we expect the expansion of the AES? Yes, in the future, but for now, as I said, we must harmonize a lot of things ourselves, really put the foundations in place, because there will be a lot of additional protocols, if you want to see, to harmonize our policies, whether diplomatic or economic policies. There are a lot of policies to harmonize before allowing someone to be added. But are there already countries that are interested in your format? Yes, countries are interested. They could be. Perhaps for the moment, the president of the federation is the Malian president. He could give an opinion on the matter, but there are countries that are interested, yes. How do you explain the decline of French influence in the region, not only in the Sahel but also in West Africa, for example? I think that it is they themselves who have contributed to lowering their influence, because they have a paternalistic conception of our relations. And you see, when you take everything we do immediately, everything we take as an initiative, it is Russia and someone speaks, they're influenced by Russia, everything that happened in Russia, why do they close their eyes like that? So is the African not capable of developing something? Are Africans incapable of inventing, of innovating, of taking initiatives? That's what we're fighting against. And as long as they continue to see Africans like that, as subhumans who aren't capable of thinking, who aren't capable of innovating, capable of inventing, we can never be friends. Times have changed. So that's the very vision they have of black people. They have to stop this, because by treating us like this, it's as if they see black people as subhuman, and that's dangerous. They have to change their language. But how can this attitude be seen? And look at their speeches, even the French president, always in these speeches, young Africans are influenced by Russia. He says it, the Western media, you listen to them often. They only spend their time lying, and look at the AES today, which is a model and is emerging. They can't get up from morning to night without talking about Burkina Faso or the AES. It's impossible for them, and every time, they try to send information to divide, to manipulate the youth. But it doesn't work anymore. I think people are quite aware, people, and all of you are victims of these people, communication. What they do, what they say about Russia, and everything we try. Until today, there are young Africans who still have their eyes closed and who believe their lie, the story of the Second World War. I was listening last time, someone said that at the end of the war, in the 10 years that followed, if you asked in Europe who won the war, people would say it was Russia. But today, if you ask in Europe who won the war, they will say it was the West. Through communication, they have managed to reverse history. And African history too, they've engineered everything to spread lies.
Why did I start my online business?
That some young Africans don't even know the history of Africa. But today, if you ask in Europe who won the war, they will say it was the West. Through communication, they have managed to reverse history. And African history too, they've engineered everything to spread lies. And that means that some young Africans don't even know the history of Africa. What has Africa done? Some don't even know that our grandparents fought, were put forward as cannon fodder, and when they returned, they killed them like animals. Do people know that when France tested its first atomic bomb, it was black soldiers that they put next to it in the shelf to see what effect it had? Let's take out the archives, everything they used against Africa, but it is what it is. So there's all of this that needs to be communicated so that young Africans understand, because there are many who are still asleep and continue to communicate for the imperialists. What they say, they do it perhaps because it gives them something, I don't know, but the African must understand his history, wake up, and so it is our fight too, just like that. What is the role of the media in this fight according to you independent media? From our country you tell it to yourself. The media should participate a lot in helping us. But you see that in our media, even there are some media that are imperialist media. They only sit back, and when the European media say something, they repeat. They emphasize. There are plenty of media outlets in our countries that even fight regimes like ours. And they also spend their time telling the same nonsense that the Western media tell, but it's shameful. If Africans behave like that, it's very shameful. I imagine they must be ashamed to look at themselves in the mirror at night. If you're paid to tell lies about black people, it's very serious. So we're raising awareness in Burkina Faso. If you see a lot of media outlets right now, they're supporting the dynamic, participating in raising awareness among young people through debates and everything. So that's what we really want for the media. Do you think our media can also play its role in this fight? Of course, a lot. We must play a very important role because I said it in 2023 in St. Petersburg and I repeat it again today, Russia helped save the world, Africa helped save the world. It must be said, young people must understand it. Everything that is said in Hollywood films, is false. It's all lies. It's the same thing. The Vietnam War. Today we see history is truncated, but we have to communicate. You see, he doesn't like who I'm talking about. They think I talk too much and everything, so they would like that I keep quiet so that they can talk and their version get across. No, my biggest regret is having spent a good part of my youth listening to radio stations like RFI and France 24. I've been to countries where these stations were closed, but we used apps, we recorded their news to listen. But at a certain point, something clicked and I began to understand that it was conditioning my brain to accept what they wanted. It's their narrative that they want us to learn. And since then, I've started to sort things out and I've understood that what they're doing is very dangerous. And today more than ever, I realize that they've conditioned the minds of Africans, especially. So you can do a lot to raise awareness among young people so that people understand how the world works and not get carried away by these people. My very last question, just to end on a positive note, what are the prospects for relations between Russia and Burkina Faso under the guise of many prospects to come? Many prospects to come. And as I said with the parade I saw, I think there is very good cooperation because it's good that we are currently paying for equipment, but we need to develop the military industry, for example. And Russia can contribute a lot. And you know that Russia has a lot of scientists and scholars who are Russian. The proof is that we just left the university and they can provide us with a lot of training to also prevail, because we have young talents, geniuses who manage to create things, but they lack the mathematical input, the science to be able to improve what they do. And so Russia can help us a lot in this area. It will help us on the military side, on the industrial side, because these are the machines that make the world go round. And today, the technology that is there, whether it is computing and networks, telecommunications and everything, on this aspect, Russia is collaborating a lot. So in the future, all these perspectives are therefore put on the agenda so that we can therefore achieve a certain objective that we want. Your Excellency, thank you very much for this very interesting and very enriching exchange. I remind you it was the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Thank you again. Thank you.